human trafficking.
Their news conference here, disregard that fire alarm. It is a test in our building, but let's go ahead and get you to this news conference.
We have an array of U.S. attorneys here that are going to give you an idea of the cases that are before us. And just briefly, before I bring the Attorney General up, to my far left is Justin Simmons, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Texas. To his right is Mike Drescher, the U.S. Attorney for Vermont, and to his right is Nick Ganji for the Southern District of Texas. On my far right is Matt Gagliotti, the Assistant Attorney General in charge of the Criminal Division. At this point, I'd like to present to you the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi.
Thank you, U.S. Attorney Kehoe. Thanks for everything that you're doing, and to all our incredible U.S. attorneys around the country. My first day as Attorney General under President Trump's leadership, we announced that the Department of Justice would pursue the total elimination of cartels and transnational criminal organizations. Thanks to President Trump, many of these groups, many of these gangs are now classified as foreign terrorist organizations because they pose an extreme threat to not only our country, but to our world. They traffic drugs, weapons, and people. Every American community destroyed drives up their profit margins. No longer. We are investigating and prosecuting their crimes more aggressively than ever, and Joint Task Force Alpha is the tip of the spear. We have been working on that with Secretary Kristi Noem, Homeland Security, and I cannot say enough good things about Secretary Noem. I was with her in Louisiana yesterday, and she is fighting to keep our country safe every single day. Just this week, Joint Task Force Alpha took 4 major enforcement actions. Right here in Tampa, we unsealed the indictment charging 12 defendants operating a massive, right here in Tampa, a massive illegal smuggling ring. The defendants engaged in a conspiracy to bring illegal aliens from Cuba to the U.S. for profit. They coached their clients, including children who came to airports alone, came to our country alone, were put on planes for connecting flights, lied to Border Patrol agents due to coaching, and law enforcement. They charged up to $40,000 per victim. They used Zelle to transfer over $7 million over the course of this scheme, and I believe had profits, cash, of over $18 million. And it's just not the southern border. In Vermont, and U.S. Attorney Drescher is here with us, we indicted Norma Lorenzo, a woman who allegedly worked with Canadian co-conspirators from Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, and El Salvador. Children were transferred to private residences, other airports, and in 2023, according to CBP, parts of Vermont and New York started seeing unprecedented traffic from illegal aliens. Law enforcement officers operating in these areas encountered aliens from 97 different countries, including China, Pakistan, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, North Korea, and Yemen. In the Southern District this week of Texas, and Nick Ganji's here, we secured the extradition of 3 men from Guatemala who have been charged in connection with a mass casualty alien smuggling event. This tragic event occurred in 2021 in Chiapas, Mexico. A semi-truck containing at least 160 illegal aliens crashed, resulting in the deaths of more than 50 people. The cost of human smuggling is huge. So many families are dying, so many people are dying. These smugglers used a variety of vehicles, including microbuses, tractor trailers, and cattle trucks to smuggle multiple Guatemalan aliens, including many unaccompanied minors, into this country. In the Western District of Texas, where Justin Simmons is our U.S. Attorney, we just this week charged 4 defendants with their role in a deplorable scheme smuggling unaccompanied children into the United States from Mexico. These monsters behind the operation drugged unaccompanied children coming into our country, giving them THC so they would be asleep when passing through customs. One of the children was overdosed so badly that the child had to go to the hospital. Since President Trump took office, Joint Task Force Alpha has charged 56 defendants, including convicting a monster who attempted to bring in Indian nationals into our country in sub-zero weather through Canada in the middle of a blizzard. This was a family of 4. This family was eventually found dead in a blizzard with the father holding the 3-year-old little boy wrapped in a blanket with his glove covering his child's face, trying to save his life. In June, we arrested a Canadian-American citizen in New York for charging $1,000 for every illegal alien he smuggled over the St. Lawrence River into our country. One of the boats capsized, killing a family, including 2 children under the age of 3. A few weeks ago, we convicted a coyote in Texas. A coyote, of course, is someone who transports illegal aliens across state lines for money. In Texas, we charged him for charging $30,000 for every 10 illegal aliens that he could get get to the Rio Grande. He got an additional $30,000 for every 10 illegal aliens that made it across the Rio Grande alive. That is why we are now expanding Joint Task Force Alpha. It has 5 steps. We will now cover, the task force will now cover our northern border in Canada, of course, and all of our maritime borders. Our incredible partner again at DHS, Christy Nome, and I are expanding this to include our DEA, ATF, and FBI agents to this task force to give us even more manpower. We will receive more resources to prosecute these cases, and key figures in cartel, human trafficking, and transnational criminals. We will strengthen our collaboration with foreign law enforcement throughout this world to protect not only their citizens, but ours, and return these criminals to American soil for prosecution. Under President Trump, we have coordinated more closely with our U.S. attorneys' offices to protect unaccompanied children being smuggled into our country from exploitation. One of the task force's greatest accomplishments has been demonstrating how dangerous human smuggling and trafficking are for those being transported. For those who are considering paying to be smuggled into the U.S., it is not safe for you or for your families. These coyotes are coordinating with terrorist organizations, collecting money from them to bring families and unaccompanied children into our country. These operations are getting people killed. Let me be clear, if you smuggle human beings, you will be found, you will be prosecuted, and you will be brought to justice. It doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what our borders are, the limit of where our country ends and another begins, but it does not limit our law enforcement capabilities to bring you to the United States and prosecute you and lock you up for as long as we can. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, General Bondi. I'm sure you, ladies and gentlemen, can see the commitment of the Attorney General to this endeavor. We just want to take a few minutes more of your time and give you a little bit more detailed flavor of the cases that we have before you and the nature and extent of the horrific crimes that are taking place that General Bondi just outlined. After we finish these very brief comments, it will be open for questions at that point. And just bear with us, and we'll be there very soon. The first case that we're talking about is the case here in Tampa that General Bondi was talking about, United States versus Cabrera, which is 12 defendants, an international alien smuggling ring, and they also engaged in asylum fraud. And why did they do it? They did it for money and money alone. As General Bondi just noted, we have tracked at least $18 million trafficking through their account and laundered through their accounts to pay their expenses, to pay their co-conspirators. This was a profit-making motive that went on between 2021 and today, 2025. How did it happen? They used social media. They went on social media with Cuban individuals to tell them that they could get Cuban individuals and get them visas based on fraudulent conduct by putting their visas, which were based on European citizenship. They had co-conspirators throughout the world to gather these people up to try to get their money to participate in this. And I say co-conspirators. There are numerous co-conspirators. There were thousands of people, aliens, listed in their ledgers that they were doing this with. Their ledgers were sophisticated as any business that you will come across. Their ledgers had dates of travel, money owed, airlines used, smuggling routes. How did they do it? They brought these people through charters and commercial airlines through other countries. They put the fraudulent documentation together with these individuals. Of course, as General Bondi just noted, at $40,000 apiece. They spent up millions of dollars flying these people throughout the country before they came back into the United States. They would provide them with fraudulent visas based on the fact that they were saying that they were not in Cuba after 2011, when of course they were. With this fraudulent document, they coached these people once they came to enter into the United States. How did they coach them? They coached them to make sure you tell these people that you're a tourist. Make sure you tell them that you're just here for a visit. And of course, conceal the fact that you had come from Cuba. And then after and when you get into the United States, lay low for a while. Don't make any noise about things. Why? Because at the appropriate time, they wanted you to come forward to seek asylum, being a Cuban national. So they would then prepare the asylum applications, which were likewise fraudulent. So they're preparing fraudulent document to get into the country, preparing fraudulent documentation to get asylum. And ladies and gentlemen, this was all for money. And it was a sophisticated enterprise with multiple shell corporations being used and transferring money throughout the country. We have uncovered at least 27 known bank accounts with these people to transfer their money between and among each other, pay for expenses and people overseas, and using money to move in and out of their shell corporations to hide it, which is the substance of the money laundering charge. Suffice it to say, the bottom line of this is that it was a business, a criminal business that was set up for one reason and one reason only: to make money on the backs of these people and at the expense of the American people by defrauding them. And in doing so, they passed at least $18 million through their bank accounts. That's a brief overview of the Tampa case. Obviously, it is now open for review because it's no longer sealed. And I will if I can, I want to turn this over to my friend from the Southern District of Texas, Nick Ganji, who will give you an idea of the case that he is going to present from his district. Nick?
As he hands things over to the U.S. Attorney from Texas, we're going to take a quick break here on Fox Local, but we'll be right back. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Garrett Weimer here, and want to get you back inside this news conference going on in Tampa right now. The U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi is there. We're hearing right now from the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Texas, talking about a number of different human smuggling rings that have been busted, including one from Tampa that now 12 people facing charges when they charged up to $40,000 per victim, made millions in profits, officials said. And this is part of a push from the Department of Justice to end these rings and prosecute those coyotes. She's Attorney General Bondi saying they will be found, they will be prosecuted, they will be brought to justice. Let's go ahead and listen back in here live on Fox 35 News Plus.
Smuggling is a wicked and remorseless business, and it has no place in any civilized society, let alone the United States. And the Southern District of Texas will do whatever it takes to eradicate this industry once and for all, and to put those responsible in prison for as long as the law allows. So for those considering coming to this country illegally, our message is clear. Don't do it. Don't put your life or safety or those of your loved ones into the hands of the cartel. They do not care if you or your children have access to food, water, or even air to breathe. They do not care if you live or die. And our message to these smugglers is equally clear. You can run, but you can't hide. If you're not already in cuffs, you will be in cuffs soon, because the United States does not forget. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to United States Attorney for the Western District of Texas, Justin Simmons.
Thank you all for being here today. My name is Justin Simmons. I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Texas. Thank you, General Bondi, for organizing this today. Also want to thank President Trump for the encouragement and the motivation he's given all of us to take down these alien smuggling organizations and the cartels that they work with. You know, Juarez, Mexico is right across the border from El Paso, Texas, and for years, Juarez has been plagued by violence, kidnapping, and murder. Cartels have been warring over that area for decades because it's a key route for trafficking drugs and smuggling humans into the United States. These cartels have no bottom. There is no limiting principle on how low they will go to enrich themselves. We saw an example of this recently in a case where a woman named Susana Guadian ran an alien smuggling organization out of Juarez. She worked with her husband Daniel, her daughter Diane, and Diane's husband Manuel Valenzuela to smuggle children from Mexico into the United States. Basically what she would do was contact U.S. drivers who would come across and pick up these children and then take them back across the border. Prior to being picked up, Susanna would prep these children by sometimes telling them what to say when they got to the POE, the port of entry, or a checkpoint. Other times she would give them THC gummies, as General Bondi said, to calm them and keep them compliant throughout the process. In this particular case, the children that were given the THC gummies were 12, 9, 3, and 2. When CBP recognized when they were trying to cross with this group of children that something wasn't right, they saw it, they realized those children needed some kind of medical treatment. They got a couple of them to the hospital to receive that treatment. They were later diagnosed with THC poisoning. As U.S. Attorney Ganji said, as General Bondi said, these cartels, these organizations do not care about you or your children when moving them across the border. So we're really happy that we were able to get arrest warrants this weekend and get at least 2 of these individuals, Diane and Manuel Valenzuela, off the street. The 2 other individuals, Susana and Daniel Guadian, are still at large, but we will do everything we can to bring them to justice as well. You know, nothing crosses the border without the cartel's permission, and nothing crosses without payment to the cartels. These cartels see children just like they see a kilo of coke. Dollar signs. That's all they see. They care nothing about their well-being. Additionally, these organizations often use stash houses in American neighborhoods where they will put these aliens that they're smuggling across for days, weeks at a time. This endangers those neighborhoods, endangers those people who live in those areas, and it brings organized crime to Main Street USA. We will not have it. We will do everything we can to shut down these organizations because it hits the cartels where it counts, in their pocketbooks. That is all they care about, how much money they can make. And it makes America safer for Americans. It makes this place, this country, a place where you as an American can not just survive, but thrive. So that's what we're committed to. I want to thank our partners with Border Patrol, Customs and Border Protection, and HSI for their work on this case. I also want to thank Joint Task Force Alpha and their help putting this case and many other cases together. You know, in San Antonio earlier this year, we got life sentences on folks who had smuggled individuals in a tractor trailer into the United States. 54 individuals, 53 plus one unborn child, died in the back of that tractor trailer. So I'm really really thankful for Joint Task Force Alpha and the work they've been doing with us as well. We are on a mission to shut down these organizations and the cartels more broadly. In the Western District of Texas, this is what we do. Thank you very much.
So lest you think this problem is just on the south border in Texas and Florida, I'd like to bring up U.S. Attorney Mike Drescher from the District of Vermont. Mike?
Thank you. I want to thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for your remarks, and I want to thank you, U.S. Attorney Kehoe, for your hospitality hosting this event.
The U.S. Attorney from Vermont stepping up to speak now. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox Local, but we will get you back inside this news conference, and they'll be taking questions here shortly as well, so we will listen back in on the other side of this break on Fox Local. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Get you back inside this news conference about human smuggling rings that have been busted across the United States. This is the U.S. Attorney from Vermont speaking right now. We learned about a large bust of a ring that was based out of Tampa. We expect the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, to take some questions here in a couple of minutes as well. So let's go ahead and listen back in.
Assistant United States Attorneys Matthew Lasher and Michelle Ara, who, under the leadership of Jonathan Opart, the Chief of the Criminal Division for the District of Vermont, have teamed up with Task Force Alpha Trial Attorney Jenna Reed to seek to hold Lozano and others engaged in similar conduct responsible for these offenses. Thank you.
We're ready to take questions. If you want to direct them to any of the states, just let us know. Questions? Well, how about if we start on this side of the room and go over? Any questions?
Are you seeing any that ruling affect your plans to send
Yeah. First, to the National Guard, we will be following the law. We are appealing that ruling, and we plan on being successful in court. We anticipate very much being successful. Back to this, yes, these transnational criminal organizations, since we have secured completely our southern border, are finding various ways to come into our country. And as our U.S. Attorney in Vermont knows, the northern border, it always has been, but it's gotten much worse. Much more prevalent because it's a multi-billion-dollar business, the smuggling of drugs, guns, and humans. And so they're not going to quit once we secured our southern border. But yes, we're stopping them at our northern border, and that's why we're also increasing Joint Task Force Alpha to include our maritime ports as well. Any other questions?
First for you, or I'm not sure you're going to do the Tampa part of it first, but
Sure.
When it comes to Tampa, do you have any idea as to why they set up shop here in Tampa? And then the other question about Tampa would just be, how much of this is going on right now? This seems like a pretty deep thing that was happening here. Can you just start throwing darts at a map and find these kinds of groups?
Can I start in on that first? Because I know you're a Tampa reporter, and that's why I think it was so important to have it here, because people are expecting this in Texas and big cities, and Tampa is a big city, but it is everywhere. It touches, I think, every city in our country. And traveling around this country, it's everywhere. It's everywhere you go, because our borders were wide open, and guns, drugs, gangs were coming in, terrorist organizations, into every city in our country. We arrested very recently, 20 minutes outside of our nation's capital, one of the top MS-13 members in the entire country. One of them was arrested also in Portland, Oregon. So it's very organized. They are spread throughout this country, and U.S. Attorney Kehoe, I'll let you take it from Tampa.
With regard to Tampa, I mean, this has been going on for a significant period of time. Our investigation takes us back to at least 2021. And these people aren't some individuals or from far-off areas. They're from neighborhoods right here in Tampa, from addresses that you know, that you could pass in Publix or walk on the street. Why did they set up here? Because they were started up in 2021, operated undetected, and let's be perfectly honest, as General Bondi said, $18 million in an entity that was moving in a tremendous speed, but in a relatively short period of time. $7 million going through Zelle alone. So why did they come here? Because they lived here, they were here, they set up and did business here, and it was profitable. I, from all intents and purposes, I can't answer that question factually, and I don't want to mislead you, but I don't have any information to say that they weren't. I can't say that they were sending their children to local schools, but they were certainly living here and doing business here.
Attorney General, if I can just ask you, now that you're seeing this from the inside, you obviously spent time in state government doing law enforcement. Now that you're seeing it from the federal level, how would you characterize what you've become aware of, and in terms of how much this is going on around the country? It seems like these cases are just a few of what you can highlight.
And these were not coordinated arrests or extraditions. These are 4 that all happened in a week. And because the majority involved unaccompanied children in human smuggling, we wanted to highlight those and why we're expanding our task force. It's shocking being in the state of Florida, being a state prosecutor, but now on a national level and an international level, seeing the amount of human smuggling that goes on in child exploitation and the amount of drugs that freely flowed into our country for 4 years has truly been horrific, and we are doing everything in our power to stop it. And we're also meeting with our partners around the world to work hand in hand with them as well.
Can you characterize how many more cases are happening in Tampa, Hillsborough County, Florida?
So just since January 20th, we have charged, in Tampa, you're specifically Tampa, but Joint Task Force Alpha has charged 55 defendants just recently. Since January, 55 have been charged. And these are all, no, from all over the country. Major cases. But I'll let U.S. Attorney Kehoe answer Tampa. It's everywhere.
Yes, I mean, to take what the general says, this is everywhere. This is just not a part-time thing. Why? Because it's a profitable thing. Other cases under investigation here in Tampa. Yes. Numerous cases, yes. I can't get into the details of those, but this is not the last case of this fashion that we're going to do. Border Patrol and HSI are out there day after day, week after week, conducting investigations. So will there be more such cases being indicted along the way? Their answer is yes. I don't want to speak for my colleagues, but I assume that they would echo my response in that regard.
Take one more. Go ahead.
Good afternoon to you all. So for the cartels that are successful in smuggling children over, what are they doing with them once they're successful in that?
The children, they're either being trafficked. We've seen multiple cases of children being trafficked who have come across our borders, come into our country, and they're being put on planes by themselves. When I was at the border in September, I went to the border in September in Yuma, Arizona, and they had a term, and it was called a recycled child. And these Border Patrol agents were seeing a little boy coming across our border multiple times. They saw him coming in as part of a family unit, which is often how they use children to get horrible criminals into our country, posing as a family unit. But these kids are coming from all over the place, and we don't know, many of them, where their parents were. That's why we're struggling to find that out, to prosecute all of them. But it was a recycled child, and these very vigilant Border Patrol agents recognized a little boy coming across. This was last September. And they couldn't figure out how he was going back and forth so easily. Well, our borders were wide open. And if you dropped your IDs, I saw IDs that were just piled up from every country you can imagine. If you dropped your passport, if you dropped your ID, they had a military member from China, dropped his ID. You could walk right into this country and say you were from anywhere you wanted to. And that's what we have stopped. And that's what we're going to prosecute. So they're using these children, many of them, to exploit them to help other gangs, cartels throughout this country. Some of these cases, when we're arresting these cartel members, they have children with them who are not related to them in their homes. Thank you. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for taking such close attention and realization to what's happening throughout our country affecting children. Have a great day.
Attorney General Pam Bondi with several other U.S. attorneys from not just Florida, but two from Texas and one from Vermont as well, announcing the bust of several human smuggling rings, including one based out of Tampa. We are going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. While we were listening to that news conference from the Attorney General in Tampa, you may have seen for a time, we had that live picture up from Pasco County where the sheriff there was also giving an update on a case out of his area where a 14-year-old girl, he says, was raped by a suspected illegal immigrant. Now, this started when he came up to her at a bus stop and offered her money for sex. Now, this is Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nacco speaking at that news conference just a few minutes ago.
This may have prevented other crimes from occurring. At the same time, what we're also doing is asking if there's other victims out there. I also want to thank HCA Trinity. A lot of credit doesn't go out to the nurses, the doctors in those emergency rooms, and they deserve a lot of credit because they see things that stand out. They see things that they shouldn't have to see, and nobody in society should have to see. But instead of just going along their business, they notify law enforcement and say something's wrong here. So I want to thank them very much for notifying law enforcement, and for all the nurses, doctors, and people that work in those ERs. Thank you very much. This young 14-year-old girl, I can tell you, she would not have been a victim had this person who entered this country illegally been stopped at the border. It's a tragedy that because the border was porous, because the border at the time, people can freely flow in here into this country, we had a victim. And so this is the second time this year that we arrested somebody who was here, who entered illegally into our country, that raped a juvenile. And it's very sad that any community in this country has to do with it, but in Pasco County, it's the second time that we made an arrest on somebody who should not have been in this country, who victimized one of our children. This case started actually on August 20th. So this young 14-year-old girl, she was standing at a Pasco County bus stop, and she engages in a conversation with an adult. And so the adult is talking to her. They just start this conversation, and he throws money and says, "Hey, you want to get in this car?" And so she gets in the car with him. The suspect is Eduardo Villarreal. He was born in '72. So this is an older male. It's not somebody who's like 21, 22. This is an adult male. This guy is older. They know there's a big age difference. The suspect offered her money for sex. She makes a decision. She gets in the car with him. Over the next 2 weeks, the suspect and the victim go to different locations in Pasco County and Pinellas County. They frequent motels, they go to strip joints, they go to liquor stores, which I'll talk about in a little bit. At one point, she does tell him, "I am 14 years old." So this adult male knows he's having sex with a 14-year-old girl, and he continues to do this. He continues to pay her, he continues to buy her alcohol. At one point during these 2 weeks, he also forces sex on her. He holds her down, he holds his hands over her mouth to keep her quiet, and he forcibly rapes this young girl. This is the part where, we always tell people out there, pray for these victims, because they've been through tragedy. Talk about post-traumatic stress. This young girl is going to deal with this for such a long time. Finally, she was able to be saved on Tuesday, September 2nd. Tuesday night, she discloses to an adult that she's intoxicated and she's been raped by this adult. Thankfully, HCA Hospital cooperated with us. I'll tell you, her blood alcohol level was 3 times higher than what a legal limit for an adult was. 3 times higher. She's 14 years old, and she's 3 times higher what would be legal for an adult. I can't imagine the amount of alcohol that she was received from this suspect in this case. So at that point, we began the investigation. Eduardo so far has been charged with 1 count of sexual bat, 1 count human trafficking because he's paying a juvenile for sex. He has 2 counts of lewd lascivious, and there's further charges that are coming. The one thing about Eduardo is that he confessed to our detectives is that he's scared about going back to Venezuela because he says the cartels are after him. So everybody, here's a clear message. Eduardo Villarreal will be in a Florida prison for life. So just putting it out there, if those cartels are really mad at him, that's where Eduardo will be for the rest of his life when he gets charged and convicted. Homeland Security also put a detainer on him. Eduardo, just a little bit of history, he entered the country illegally. In 2023, he was stopped by CBP, but was released. He then established residency in Colorado, where he received a driver's license. He was actually stopped in Colorado several times, and the last time being May of this past year, he was stopped in Colorado on a traffic stop. The other thing about Eduardo is that he is a delivery guy. So that raises a lot of concerns and scares us, is the fact that this is a delivery driver in our community. So 2 things on this. First is we are notifying Homeland Security. Whoever hired this individual to be a delivery driver, without status of being in the United States, they're going to have to deal with that, and Homeland Security will be, their information will be handed over to Homeland Security. The second thing is we want to make sure if there's any victims out there, we will post the information about Eduardo. You're going to see it on the news. We want you to notify law enforcement. We do not believe this is the first time that he's committed these heinous crimes, and so we just want the information out there to make sure if there's any other victims, it's brought to justice, and that you actually receive the help you truly deserve. The other part is, talk about the hotels, motels, and liquor stores and strip joints. So they went to these locations. They hung out. That's saying, see something, say something. I know it all started because of Homeland Security after 9/11. It was about terrorism, but it's about crime. If you see an adult male who's much older than a young girl, a 14-year-old girl, I get it. You may think to yourself, oh, is it father-daughter? But if father and daughter start kissing in front of you, or the adult male and the young child are kissing in front of you in a liquor store, or a motel, or at the strip joint, somebody needs to call law enforcement. Somebody at this point needs to say, hey, there's something wrong here. Call law enforcement. Because maybe this could have been stopped from the very beginning had somebody done something about it. But because there was the injustice where people stayed silent, a 14-year-old girl was victimized over and over and over again. So right now, as I said, the investigation is still ongoing. We are getting the 14-year-old the treatment that she needs and deserves. We're looking further in this investigation. If anybody has any information, please let us know. But there is a clear message out there, is that in the state of Florida, we will enforce the laws. In the state of Florida, if you commit a crime, we will be held accountable. And if you're a victim, we're going to open our arms out to you. We're going to give you a hug. We're going to protect you. There's a lot of young girls out there. And I wish I was a social media star. I wish I was like cool that they would actually listen to me. But I'm not. I'm a dad. I'm a law enforcement officer, and so I don't really get that cool status that you would get on TikTok or other social media sites. But I want to convey this message to you. Being a young girl, you're special. You are loved. You do not need the attention of an adult male or anybody. If you're missing that void in your life, I'm telling you right now, God loves you. There is a Lord, Jesus Christ, that loves you. Please, don't put yourself in these positions where you feel like, I'm going in this car with this guy, I don't know who he is, and I'm going to sell my body. I'm going to have sex because they're going to give me money. Money's worthless. Everything on this earth is worthless, but you're priceless. You are worth way more than any money, any jewelry, any material things on this earth. So if there's that one message, if there's anybody out there with social media that's really good, that you have a big following, please do me a favor and get that out there. Because there's a lot of young girls that are harming themselves, putting themselves in dangerous situations. As I was arriving here today, a call went on the radio that a young 15-year-old girl was in one of the ERs who had just gashed her arm, self-mutilating herself. The tragedy that we have as a society where people don't feel their self-worth. Whatever we can do to give it to them, we have to. Because that will prevent people from being victimized in the future. And it'll prevent people from harming themselves in the future. So with that, is there anything I can answer or talk about? There's still an ongoing investigation, so myself or Detective Damian, there's things we can say and things we can't say.
Well, of course, you touched on it, but your message to people who are out there that are looking to do these types of things to young children, what's your strong message to them?
So I will say, in today's day and age, there's no secrecy. There's no privacy in the fact that they think that they can get away with these things. Eventually, you're going to get caught. Eventually, you're either going to face a death penalty or you're going to face life in prison, depending on how heinous your crime is. So the message out there is, you may get away with it or think you're getting away with it, but you're not. Eventually, at some point, you will be caught. And at that point when you're caught, I get it. You're going to cry and say, I wish I never did this. I didn't mean this to happen. Well, that's too late. So make your decisions now. The other one too is, say you do get away with it. That's on this earth. I always say this. There's a bigger judge than me. There's a bigger judge than all of us. And that's God. At one point, we're all going to die. And you're all going to be sentenced. And during that sentencing, every sin you ever committed is going to come forward. So at that point, yeah, the judges on earth, the sentencing on earth may be one thing, but eternity, that's a bigger thing that you're going to have to deal with than just worrying about the causes on earth. We're good? Yes, sir.
Sir, how about contact info? Is if somebody out of state does recognize the subject, call their local police or?
Yeah, so if it's somebody locally, so if it's people in Colorado, which this individual lived in Colorado for a long time, notify Colorado law enforcement, but at the same time notify us because we want to know. We'll actually connect together. You can go on our Facebook page, our Twitter account. We have our information up there. But yes, if somebody has any information, notify us or notify your local jurisdiction. And if they have any questions, that local jurisdiction doesn't do anything about it, notify us and we'll get engaged.
Thank you.
And
right.
lastly, you talked about the concerns about people hiring people who have maybe came here through improper ways.
Right.
Message to them. I mean,
Right.
they're doing this. It's not the first time, as you mentioned,
Right.
that this happened.
As I said, the problem we face is, I can imagine, he's probably cheap labor. He's probably extremely cheap labor. The thing is, he is going door to door to people's houses. He's in people's communities. If they never verified his status, they never did a background check. I mean, these people should absolutely have a background check. Now, he had criminal offenses. They may not have caught because there may not have been anything in his background. But at the same time is, nobody probably did anything. They just hired this individual. He handed him a Colorado license and just started working doing deliveries.
Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nacco just moments ago talking about that suspected illegal immigrant accused of raping a teenage girl, 14 years old, after that confrontation at a bus stop. Also, lots of words of warning from him to keep in mind as parents and as people. If you see something as well, say something. We're part of his advice just a few minutes ago. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we still have a lot more to come, so keep it here on.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer and thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It is 4 o'clock now and that means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we're tracking today in the Fox 35 newsroom. And joining me for today's Top 4 at 4 is Fox 35 News anchor Luann Sorrell. Luann, thanks for being here.
Hi, good to be here.
So our first story, that is learning today about subpoenas issued by the state attorney general's office against the company that had employed Harjinder Singh.
You're right. That James Uthmeyer says he has issued subpoenas both civilly and criminally to the trucking company that hired Harjinder Singh, allegedly knowing that he was here in the country illegally. This is the video that really shocked the country. It happened last month. He was driving a semi-truck when he made an illegal U-turn there on the Florida Turnpike. It was really one of those U-turn spots that only like police are supposed to use. They said Harjinder Singh could not speak or read much English, so they said he should have never been behind the wheel of a semi-truck. So now the state attorney general is going after the company that hired Singh. The name of that company is White Hawk Carriers, Inc., out of California. And California is also where Singh got his CDL license, the commercial driver's license that allowed him to, be behind the wheel of this big rig. So yeah, not only has Singh been arrested and he's here in Florida facing charges after 3 people were killed, but now the state is going after the trucking company, Garrett, as you said, and holding them liable for that crash as well.
And the Attorney General made that announcement at a news conference earlier today in Hillsborough County. Here's what he said.
Incident down in southeast Florida where you had an illegal alien who was given a trucker's license, a CDL license, by both Washington and California. He engaged in a very dangerous U-turn that ultimately cost 3 people their lives. In Florida, we don't just talk the talk. We're going to use every tool, every legal tool at our disposal to fight back and protect our citizens. So today we'll be issuing these subpoenas against the employer of this individual. As a reminder, this guy did not know how to speak English. He could not read road signs. He never should have received that CDL license in the first place. Not only was he illegally here in the country, but he also did not have the competency, the skill set. There's no way he went through the proper training in order to get this license.
And so, he has had strong words about this from the beginning, and this further action in that case that, as you said, has gotten nationwide attention.
Right, and 3 innocent people lost their lives because of it as well.
Yeah, tragic. Story number 2 today, and that is Anthony Shea in court today for a bond hearing. No decision from the judge, but we heard hours of testimony, saw some of the evidence as well.
Yeah, the judge says they will make a ruling probably either tomorrow or Monday on if Anthony Shea should get bond. Let's take you back to this couple. That's Anthony Shea on the left. He's accused of killing his wife Ellie on the right there. It happened last year inside their home. Apparently, it was made to look like a suicide. Anthony Shea is accused of killing his wife and then trying to cover it up. She was shot in the chest on their bed. And they say at first they did think it was a suicide, but investigators kind of dug deeper into this thing. They looked at his phone records. They looked at some surveillance video. They say he waited 40 minutes before he called 911 to report the shooting. They also say there was a tape of him telling his child, "Oh, mommy's just sleeping." So now they say, no, this is not a suicide. Anthony Shea actually killed his wife. It may be because he was accused of having an extramarital affair, so they were separated at the time. So he's behind bars right now. No bond was set, but he's saying he should get out on bond. It should be set because he has deep Central Florida connections. He's not a flight risk. So as you said, Garrett, hours of testimony in this case, and we should find out within the next day or so if he will at least get the chance to get out of jail and have bond set in this case.
In that hearing today, we saw crime scene photos. They played some body camera video from first responders responding. Some of it was graphic to where we couldn't show it on our streaming show here, but we also heard some audio recording, some voice memos from where you could hear, some of it was kind of noise, things happening in the background, but also heard some of it of a voice memo that Ellie had sent to a friend. This was all part of the prosecution trying to say that Shea killed his wife, and the defense trying to say that they believe she committed suicide.
In listening to the voice messages that were presented through Ms. Hilly of Ms. Shea, did you afford any significance to it that she had talked about suicide?
Yes, because she follows it up with that she wouldn't do it based on her having 2 children and being wanted to be present for her children.
Of course.
So that was just one exchange there. I want to play one other exchange here as we hear the defense attorney, who, as you pointed out, is Mark O'Mara, questioning the detective who was on the stand for much of the day about the gunshot residue that they found as well.
In any of that, anything conclusive that points to him and says, we got you, we know you did it, and here's why?
His DNA is on the trigger.
Of course.
There was gunshot residue discovered inside of his vehicle.
Right. And he was a cop, right?
Not at that time.
He owns guns?
Yes.
Okay. Do you consider that conclusive? That he had gunshot residue on his steering wheel?
Objection. Proper opinion.
Overruled.
I think it's telling. After the death, he's got, there's gunshot residue just on his hands and then discovered inside the car.
So it's going to be interesting to see what that judge ends up deciding. And like you said, tomorrow or Monday, we expect that ruling.
Correct.
Story number 3, and that is a reaction continuing to pour in from the decision announced yesterday by the governor and the Surgeon General that they want to end the state's vaccine mandates.
Yeah, this surprised a lot of people. It's getting national attention because Florida would be the first state in the country to ban vaccine mandates for children to enter school. So yeah, the Surgeon General, as you said, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, and the governor both said yesterday that they're starting a new commission, Make America Healthy Again, just like the federal one, but this will be a state-operated one. And they say, parents should have the choice whether they want to vaccinate their kids or not. So they're going to throw this back into the, parents' court on if they want to get this done. But this has surprised a whole lot of people, doctors, health professionals, really up in arms. They say this is not what we should be doing, because if we allow some of these viruses to thrive and mutate, then even people who do get vaccinated will be unprotected. They'll have to come up with a whole new vaccine plan. They said this is just really, really bad news. So yeah, very controversial, but that is what the governor and the Surgeon General are planning to do, be the first state in the country to ban vaccine mandates for children.
In reaction coming in just this afternoon from the Florida Medical Association, sending out this statement saying, on behalf of Florida's more than 23,000 physicians and medical professionals, the Florida Medical Association unequivocally supports the vaccination and immunization of school-aged children against diseases that decades ago proved life-threatening to our kids. The FMA advocates for physicians and their patients to promote the public health, ensure the highest standards of medical practice, and to enhance the quality and availability of health care in the Sunshine State. They say this includes the safe and effective administration of vaccines and immunizations based on years of research and efficacy. And also interesting timing of this as well, because we did see U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. on Capitol Hill today, really being grilled by senators in front of a committee, and a lot of it focused on this question of vaccines.
Yeah, because he possibly wants to do away with vaccine mandates as well. He said he won't take any vaccines away from people, but he's not an advocate of kids getting vaccines. So this could go a lot further than Florida eventually banning vaccine mandates, but we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, it got heated. I was at home watching some of that committee hearing, and I was like, ooh, it got pretty testy.
It did, and went on for quite a while as well. Well, story number 4, and this is a fun one. Exciting to say. The start of the NFL season is just about here.
Professional football is back tonight. We've had college for a couple of weeks, and now we have the NFL. The reigning Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, hosting a game against their rivals, the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of people going to be tuning in to watch this game tonight. Held there in Philadelphia. But yeah, exciting times. It's one of the happiest times of the year for me to have, both college and professional football back. So yeah, the Bucs are playing this weekend. I think all the Florida teams are playing. The Bucs will be here on Fox 35, so you can watch it there. But yeah, good times, huh?
Yeah, it's a fun time of year. I love college and professional football in different ways.
Right.
They are very different,
yes.
And so having them both back is great because you have that balance, I think, of the college feel and the professional game too.
Yes.
So I love it when they're both going on. You got something on Saturdays, you got something on Sundays,
right.
and other nights of the week too.
Yeah, Thursday, Mondays, we'll have it most nights of the week now. So that's a lot of fun. It brings my blood pressure up because I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. I didn't realize I had my purple on for them, but
perfect.
They always, every year I'm like, this is our year. It never happens, but it's still fun to watch. I keep my fingers crossed, keep hope alive, you know.
That's part of it, you know. Well, Luann, we appreciate you joining us for our
Sure.
top 4 at 4. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Bergen joining me live now in the flesh here, Noah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Long time no see.
I know. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. There's been a lot to talk about when it comes to the weather, when it comes to some of the storm chances we're seeing here, but a lot of eyes on the tropics.
Yeah, it's September. I guess that'd be the time of the year for it. But the good news, Garrett, is there's nothing threatening right now. A lot of internet buzz, but through the buzz, there's nothing concerning yet. So I want to stress that for us. I've got a lot to show you here. First, I'll walk you through with the tropical satellite. So a couple of things to notice. First of all, you can see on the side that there is a tropical wave out there. Remember what a tropical wave is that it's an area of showers and storms over the water, and it's not a system yet. It's just a bunch of rain over the ocean, and that wave is going to move west over the next couple of days. So here's a couple of scenarios for you with this. If it does form, it's going to be named Gabrielle. Number two, we don't know where it's going to go yet. And because it hasn't formed yet, it's more difficult than it would be if it was already formed despite being so far in the ocean. Meaning, if this was already an identifiable storm with a closed area of circulation, it was on the satellite, an actual swirling tropical storm or depression, our confidence even 10 to 15 days out would be more, because it's easier to track something once it's identifiable where it is. What's causing such the uncertainty with this forecast is all of the models, forget looking 3 days out, even just now and tomorrow, they all don't agree on where and when it's going to form. Some of the data spins this up on Sunday into a tropical depression, some does it tomorrow, some does it next Tuesday. And when it forms, that changes where it's going to go. So that's why there's a very high degree of uncertainty with this forecast, at least as of right now. But to cut through all the noise, looking through all the data, sitting in the office for the last few hours, this is kind of what we've identified as the 3 scenarios with this. A, B, and C, you see them there. A would be a track where it stays far south, interacts with Hispaniola and Cuba, which Hispaniola and Cuba, generally those areas are regarded as the hurricane graveyard in weather forecasting, meaning that if a system's not really formed by then, they get ripped apart and they fall apart. So that for us would be good news. Scenario A, if it stays south, runs into the islands and falls apart, I mean, it may briefly get a name, but this is in the end a nothing burger for the U.S. or Florida. It could be an impact, obviously, to Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, Haiti, Cuba, Jamaica in terms of rain bands and some wind and minor surge, but all things considered, it's not major. Scenario B is an interesting one, where if you look at the lines of B, it goes towards Puerto Rico, which is that little smaller island right of Hispaniola, and then it makes a weird jog north, but it doesn't go far enough north to get picked up by that Bermuda high that's out in the Atlantic, and then it goes back west. And in that scenario, that would be more, to be plain with you, a concerning scenario for us in Florida or the southeast U.S., where this storm could end up being a Irma type of thing or a Dorian type of thing, where it's a really big storm that comes close to Florida. And the reason why I say that is because the water in the Bahamas is really hot. So if that scenario B plays out, we could be looking at, yes, something that's of a concern of us about next weekend or the days after into the following week. So today is Thursday. We're talking about a week from now, next Thursday, this thing is maybe near Puerto Rico. So this is a slow moving thing that's going to be in the weather news for a long while to come. Now, there is an old adage, when the Pacific is busy, the Atlantic is not. We've got Lorena off the coast of Baja and actually Kickoff going towards Hawaii. Now, this ties into our forecast here because, again, the Pacific being busy, the Atlantic's not. And these systems will fall apart in about 6 to 7 days from now, and then the forcing in the atmosphere that's causing the Pacific to be busy moves over to the Atlantic, and that's part of what will drive potential Gabrielle and a flurry of other systems behind Gabrielle, I think, towards the end of the month. Now, Lorena, you see there, it's just going to fall apart. That's why the text is on top of each other. It's going to fall apart into Baja, but a lot of rain will go into New Mexico and Arizona as remnants from that into next week. Now, Kickoff is a really interesting hurricane. While we're on the subject of tropical systems, many of you may know this, some of you may not, that hurricanes rarely hit the Hawaiian Islands. It's very rare, and there's a reason for it, is because where it's positioned in the ocean, the winds across that part of the world are generally too hostile to let hurricanes make it to the Hawaiian Islands. They fall apart 95% of the time. Or the waters are so cool, they fall apart because of that. Generally, there are huge hurricanes in the Pacific, but they pass well south of Hawaii. This one is on a line that would take it towards the Big Island in Hilo early next week, still as a tropical storm. That would be huge weather news. That is actually, maybe you know somebody who's lived in Hawaii or you vacation there, very rare. That would be like top of the headlines for them for a long while. And you can see that's a big hurricane out there, and all the models do take it in the direction of the Hawaiian Islands next week. So there's a little bit of an expanded tropical update, but Garrett, here's the names for us. We're at that point. Gabrielle probably going to form. And then we have Umberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo, Melissa after Gabrielle. We're a little bit behind schedule. Generally, we see our second hurricane about August 26th. The third hurricane September 7th in the Atlantic. And remember, the naming list gets recycled about every 6 years. So this year, we're on the 2019 list, with the exception of Dorian that was retired from 2019 because of what it did in the Bahamas. Now, I'll leave you with this graphic. This is what I'm keeping my attention to in the weather office, and we're tracking as a storm team, is the water close to us. And here's why. If you look at the lines, look in the Gulf, there's Barry over by my finger on the side there. Then out in the Atlantic, you can see Chantal went into South Carolina earlier this year. There's not been any tropical activity in the basin of the Caribbean, the Bahamas, or near Florida at all this year. That water is, even for being prime hurricane season, because obviously normally it's hot now anyways, it's double what's normal hot. It's really, really top of the chart. So that is a concern, that if a storm towards the end of the month, Garrett, came, just to see that big, you can clearly see what the big bright red is. If it came from the Caribbean north or went from into the Bahamas towards the east coast of Florida from the east, anywhere if a hurricane went over that red area, it would be like a Milton type of thing where it goes from a tropical storm to a really big, powerful storm in a hurry, or even get stronger than what it already is. So that's something to keep in mind. And Garrett, it's possible we don't have anything go through there at the end of the month, but well, knock on wood that nothing does, but that is something to keep in mind the next 5-6 weeks, that if something does, it could really be a big storm, more than what it normally would be. And it's not like that every year, though. And the water's always hot, but this is 2 or 3 notches above what's normal.
Does that impact? Would that impact the track at all, or just the strength?
Mostly the strength. It's actually a good question. There's research going on from people in universities now about actually that exact thing, but mostly just the intensity. Yeah, that Bermuda high out in the Atlantic I showed you, that's normally what is the driver of steering if it goes towards Florida or towards the U.S. But we'll see. It's possible Gabrielle doesn't impact us, as you saw there, but this is a really slow mover. We're going to be, I'll be here with you this time next week. We'll still be talking about where it's going.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes they move to Florida from there in a week.
Yeah.
And this is going to be 2 weeks of tracking this thing. So you'll be hearing a lot of Gabrielle in the weather for a while.
All right. Well, we will certainly stay tuned for updates on that. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berger, and we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Garrett Weimer here, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It has been a busy day, a lot of events going on, and one of the things that we didn't have the chance to bring you live earlier, but wanted to make sure we touched on was hearing from the newest state legislators who were just elected earlier this week. We're talking about LaVon Bracey Davis, the new state senator-elect from Orlando, and Rashawn Young, a new state representative-elect from Orlando, both of them Democrats. Rashawn Young becomes the first Gen Z Florida state legislator, and LaVon Bracey Davis stepping into the seat that was previously held by Geraldine Thompson, who recently passed away. We heard from both of them earlier, speaking with reporters on a virtual news conference, talking about their goals for their upcoming term in office.
It is a great day to be a Democrat and a great day to be a Florida Democrat. You know, Tuesday, I think we sent a very clear message, and it wasn't just the Democrats that sent a clear message, but I think it was Floridians. Because when you look at our overperformance on what happened on Tuesday, while, you know, the Democrats voted, the MPAs voted, we had a lot of Republicans that voted on this side as well. And I think that speaks to the frustration of Floridians. Floridians really want our legislature to be focused on issues that affect them. They're sick of culture wars. They're sick of folks that they've sent to Tallahassee that are focused on everything but their pocketbooks. And you know, we spent an extended session last session, and you know, we were passing bills like changing textbooks from Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. No constituent, Democrat or Republican, has called me asking me for that. You know, they're asking me about property insurance, and they're asking me about rent caps, and you know, they're asking me about this affordability crisis and ensuring that they have medical care. So you know, Floridians spoke well and spoke big on Tuesday, and I'm grateful. And I'm honored and I'm humbled to serve. You know, Chair Freed, you made mention of the late great Senator Geraldine Thompson, and everywhere I go and every time I speak, I call her name because she created a good work. She's done a good work. And there's still some things that she started that she wasn't able to finish. And I'm excited to go to the Senate to finish the work that she started. We know that she was a champion for voter advocacy and voter rights and civil rights and history and education. So I owe this first term, because this is me completing her term. This is technically not my own term. It's me completing her term. I owe this term to finish and to continue some of the work and champion some of the work that she's done. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the big numbers on Tuesday. Also thankful for the opportunity to build a bench. If you know anything about my family, you know that we have been on the front line of this work for decades. And so you hear me talk a lot about my father and my mother. And while their work is important, my father has since gone on to heaven. His work is important. They've planted seeds within me, but that's not enough. We have to continue this cycle of leadership. And so I've tried to do my part by sowing seeds into my now former chief of staff. That's hard for me to say nowadays, but my former chief of staff, Rashawn Young, but I planted seeds in him because I know that I won't be able to do this work forever. And so I am grateful and thankful that he learned from this process, and now he is the state representative as I have elevated to state senate. So thankful for him, thankful for all that is on this call. Appreciate every canvasser, every door knocker, every phone bank person, all of the DEC and all of the different caucuses that this win also belongs to them. But grateful for the work that we did on the campaign trail, and grateful for the work that we're going to do in Tallahassee. And it starts now. The heavy lifting starts now. I'm ready to speak truth to power. I'm ready to ask the tough questions, and I'm ready to lead. You know, Martin Luther King said, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And so I'm thankful for this opportunity to be able to serve. And so I will now pass it over to my former chief of staff, or perhaps my forever chief of staff, if I'm allowed to say that, but none other than Representative Rashawn Young.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Senator Bracey Davis. That is also weird to say. And Chair Freed, thank you for this opportunity, and to the entire team at the FDP. I'm extremely grateful. We are still ringing with joy from Tuesday evening and how definitively the people of both House District 40 and Senate District 15 spoke. And as the senator said, I mean, it speaks to the changing landscape and the changing tide of what's happening in politics across this country. People are sick and tired of the wasteful spending. They're sick and tired of people overlooking the issues that are impacting them. They don't want to have conversations about road art. They don't want to have conversations about an internment camp. They don't want an internment camp in our state. What they want is to be able to make sure that they can put food on their tables, that they can have sustainable health care, that they can afford to put gas in their car. And these are the things that are not being addressed. And so these wins speak to the realization of people seeing that common sense legislation starts with common sense legislators, right? And this is the time for acquiescing to the desires of the governor or the president have come and gone. And we cannot continue to do it because Floridians are struggling. Floridians are hurting. And we know that on Tuesday night, they saw hope in these two Democratic candidates, and they invested in that. And so that's why, with 100%, we think, of Democrats and 100% of MPs and some Republicans, they voted and made it very clear that they were investing in hope and investing in common sense. And so I am extremely grateful. I echo the sentiments of the senator that democracy does not defend itself. Democracy is defended when phones are called, when doors are knocked, when ballots are cast, when people raise their voice against the machine and rage against the machine. That is how democracy is defended. And people are wanting to defend democracy, and they have two democracy defenders in the both of us. And so this is not just a win for us here in Orange County. This is a win for Democrats across the state. This is a win for Democrats across the country, because it is showing that there is hope for Florida. The Florida Democratic Party is not dead, and we are reinvigorating. We are lighting that fire, and we're going to keep this momentum going through now to 2026. And so it is the continuous momentum of how we continue to organize and continue to mobilize. And I applaud the party and the chair for investing in year-round organizing, because that is how we change the tide of what's happening in this state. And so I also thank all of the supporters, all of the caucuses, and all the DC members and FDP members and team members who all made this possible, because this win would not have been possible without all of your help. And I'm excited to do my part in Tallahassee, but also in making sure that we send some really good Democrats who are going to be on the ballot in 2026 to their respective seats, because this is what democracy looks like. And I'm excited to be in the fight. So thank you all. And I think I pass it back now to the chair.
And that's why we are so excited for Rashawn to now be serving in the Florida House, because he brings excitement, energy, hope, new, fresh perspective, and ready to give his life of service to the people of his community in our state. And I think that what these wins also showed is a continuation of the momentum that we already have been seeing since the special elections earlier part of this year, where we saw Escambia County again flip for the first time in decades. We saw movement to the left in almost every special election that has been held, not just only here in the state of Florida, but across the entire country. You know, last week, Iowa flipped a Republican seat and have killed their majorities in Iowa. So there's something happening on the ground across the entire country. And what Democrats in this moment are doing is twofold. One, we are showing up. We're showing up and we're fighting back against the extremism that is coming, the corruption that is coming from Tallahassee, and the chaos that is coming from Washington, D.C. But we're also giving hope of what a better life could look like for our families and our workers here in the state of Florida by electing Democrats with real solutions to their everyday problems, and are focusing on those everyday problems. I mean, you've heard from Rashawn and Levon. They've been knocking on the doors. They've been having the phone calls. They hear what is on the minds of the people of the state, Democrat, Republican, Independent, and not registered. And let me tell you, it is this consistent drumbeat, no matter who we talk to, in what demographic, in what part of our state. Everybody is talking about the unaffordability crisis of our state. And unfortunately, we have people in Washington, D.C. and in Tallahassee that is not their focus. And that is why we are organizing year round, showing up in this moment, fighting back, but also giving hope of what a better tomorrow could look like. I mean, we saw that the job.
Florida Democratic Party Chair Nikki Fried speaking as well during that virtual news conference earlier today. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Today we heard from the former Seminole High School coach of Ethan Pritchard, who is the freshman linebacker at Florida State University who was shot over the weekend in Gadsden County. Still in the hospital right now after that shooting. Still a lot we don't know about the circumstances of that shooting. Certainly our thoughts go out to Ethan Pritchard. Again, he's from Sanford. He went to Seminole High School, played football there. His former coach at the high school started a GoFundMe for him. Fox 35's Matt Trezor reports raised more than $85,000 so far. People pitching in, trying to help him, trying to help his family, who has been in the hospital with him by his side since this happened. I do want to play for you some of Matt's conversation with his former coach earlier today about Ethan, who, by all accounts, just a good kid, a hard worker, and someone who is well known and loved in the community.
Extraordinary human being, carries everything that we want to represent from an athlete coming from here. Respectful, kind, passionate about what he does. Would give you the clothes off his back if he could. Known him for a long time, and just always been great. So he's just a great person all the way around.
How long have you known him?
I've known Ethan prior to coaching here. I went to school with his sister here, so I've known probably known him before he knew me. You know, I used to see him running around when he was younger, but really knew him probably around when he was about 14.
And tell me about him as a player.
I mean, he's a 4-star linebacker. He's one of the best. You can play him in the box, outside the box. You can play him at safety. I mean, obviously, he was one of the top-rated players in the country when he committed to Florida State. So he's a heck of a player, heck of an athlete. He makes a lot of plays by his instincts and also a lot of plays by his physicality and just being elusive. Very, very athletic linebacker, that model role that you want from a new age linebacker.
And you coached him here?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about him, about his coachability. Like,
I coach hard. I coach very hard, and he always took it. You know, he was a yes sir, no sir kid. Did whatever you asked him to do. Showed up early, stayed late. You know, would stay after to get the drills. Would ask questions about how to fit this. So never had an issue with him coaching. He was always good and responsive to what he wanted.
What are your, well, first off, what went through your mind when you heard about what happened?
I can't really, it was devastating, you know, just unreal, and just something you never want to happen to anybody, let alone someone you love. So it was devastating.
Absolutely. What are your prayers or thoughts for him, for his family?
Like everyone else, we're just hoping that everything comes good. You know, we're hoping that he pushes through. We know he's going to push through. We believing in God and believing in his strength and ability, and we just got to continue to pray for him and hope everything transpires how it needs to go.
Are you in touch with his family at all?
Yes.
Okay. And how are they doing? How are they holding up?
Like I said, everyone's kind of feeling the same. You know, he's very devastated, but hopeful and trusting in God.
For his family, for his fans and his supporters, what do you want to let them know?
Keep praying, keep believing. This kid is an amazing kid, and in an unfortunate situation that he didn't deserve to be in. But you got to keep hope, keep praying, keep believing, and just keep sending well wishes to his family with the hard times they're going through. Support them, support everybody doing that, and just keep believing and keep pushing through. And I would just say that the well wishes are felt, the believing in is felt, and we just got to keep doing that.
And you started a GoFundMe, or there's a GoFundMe that you want to talk about?
I started a GoFundMe to help his family. You know, the expenses getting back and forth to Tallahassee is very tough, and also the medical expenses and those things that they're dealing with. So we just wanted to support the family however we could. His father, Earl Pritchard, is very, 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 very great guy, and anything we could do to help him, we want to do it. He was always helping us as a program, so we just wanted to give it back, and we love our guy and just want him to be good, you know. So whatever we could do to help is what we wanted to do.
Do you know how much money has been raised so far?
Last time I checked, it was around $83,000, which is great. We haven't even had it up for 24 hours, so every dollar counts to help them with this situation that they shouldn't have to be dealing with. So, you know, continue to donate, continue to help out. It's all going directly to Earl Pritchard, who is his father, and we want to help them as much as we can. So just continue to donate and help out.
Do you know what the GoFundMe is called or how it's titled? Because sometimes scams pop up.
Yeah, it is. I know it's under my name as the one that created it. I want to say it's FSU football player Ethan Pritchard. If you type that in with GoFundMe, it'll come up. There's a direct link. It's been on multiple websites and multiple places where you can access it. You can even type it in on Google and it'll come right up.
Do you have any hopes for him getting back on the field one day?
Of course. We want to get him back to where he needs to get to. He's an amazing football player, amazing person. So obviously we'd love to see him doing what he was blessed and born to do.
Yeah, glad to see that support coming in to help him and his family as well as they go through, you know, this unimaginable time right now. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this. Tracking breaking news this afternoon here on Fox 35 News Plus. A judge overruling a previous order from another judge and pausing a shutdown order that was imposed against Alligator Alcatraz. That's the immigration detention center that's in the Everglades and had been paused by a federal judge. It can remain open. That's the latest ruling. And Governor DeSantis posting this video on Twitter in response, or X, just a little bit ago.
The mission continues on immigration enforcement. The media was giddy that somehow Alligator Alcatraz was, quote, shutting down. Now, we told them that that wasn't true. There have been illegal aliens continuing to be there and being removed and returned to their home country. But they ran with the narrative because some leftist judge ruled implausibly that somehow Florida wasn't allowed to use our own property to help the federal government in this important mission because they didn't do an environmental impact statement. Well, we said we would fight that. We said the mission would continue. And I'm pleased to say that the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has just stayed that ruling and stayed the case. So Alligator Alcatraz is, in fact, like we've always said, open for business. The mission continues, and we're going to continue leading the way when it comes to immigration enforcement. The mission.
That was Governor DeSantis posting that video on social media just a little bit ago in response to that appeals court ruling allowing Alligator Alcatraz to stay open. Meanwhile, Attorney General James Uthmeier was in Hillsborough County earlier today. He was with the Sheriff Chad Chronister there, and they were announcing the bust of a large diesel theft ring. They called it Operation Van Diesel, a large-scale diesel theft ring that stole $650,000 total value in diesel. A number of people arrested in connection with this, and here's a little bit of what they said about that case.
These individuals are responsible for 350 diesel fuel thefts at 70 locations within 13 counties across this great state. They're responsible for stealing and the theft of 185,000 gallons of diesel fuel with a retail value of about a $650,000 loss. Their crime spree is now over. Operation Van Diesel started about 6 months ago. Our office was notified from some fuel centers here in Hillsborough County that they had discrepancy of fuel on hand. Fuel that was supposed to be on hand versus what was actually on hand. The case was turned over to our organized crime unit, who immediately observed that this was a trend. This wasn't just a single theft, it was multiple thefts. Cooperating with several agencies throughout the state of Florida, saw that this was a trend that was occurring throughout Florida, and you'll see that on the map that's being shown. So as they're conducting surveillance and working with every partner that you see here, they started identifying a trend. Most of the thefts occurred late at night. They would pull up in a van, usually a Dodge or Chrysler van, sometimes pull in a trailer, sometimes not, and they would pull on top of the covers, the metal covers that cover the in-ground storage diesel fuel tanks. They would move the piece of metal, whatever they had, in the floor with these makeshift tanks, 500-gallon tanks in these vans, and they would lower their pump into the tank and within minutes could steal 500 gallons of diesel fuel. They would then take this fuel to large tractor storage facilities and sell the fuel for $2 a gallon. $2 a gallon when the national average is about $3.74 a gallon. So about a 50% discount to whatever customer they could find. Now think about the theft that's occurred. Yes, these corporate centers and fuel centers have lost that income. They are the victims. But this isn't a victimless crime. Think about every honest operator who now has to pay more at the pump because of these thefts. Even more so, let's talk about the safety of these makeshift tanks in these vans and trailers. that hold 500 gallons. These individuals, these criminals were out driving around on our Florida roadways where our families drive. A simple traffic crash could have been catastrophic. General Uthmeyer and his office of the statewide prosecution's office has been instrumental. They assisted and helped us obtain 103 search warrants and 41 subpoenas that resulted in the arrest, in the issuance of 11 arrest warrants. 10 out of 11 of these individuals have been placed under arrest. 8 of them have already been extradited back to Hillsborough County. And here we go again. 7 of them have no lawful standing here in the United States. 4 of them, when we arrested them, were also served with arrest warrants from previous diesel fuel thefts. They face a litany of felony charges, with the most egregious being racketeering. I want to take just a minute and thank the Organized Crime Task Force.
Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Chronister there announcing the results and the number of arrests they made in connection with this case. And you see some of that surveillance video as well, kind of showing how they were able to pull this off. 350 thefts across 70 locations in 13 different Florida counties. So as he said, something that went all across the state. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. The NFL season kicks off tonight. It's the Eagles and the Cowboys live in Philadelphia coming up just a few hours from now. Meanwhile, preparations continue for Florida's NFL teams, including the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who named their team captains ahead of the season opener coming up Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. We heard yesterday from Tampa Bay Bucs head coach Todd Bowles and quarterback Baker Mayfield.
You guys were trying to get that catch for him, and
I think it was 4 letters.
yeah.
You probably get that on a daily basis if you ask the right question.
More swearing on the podium, that's what we need.
My mother taught me better than that.
Scott, from an injury standpoint, we saw Benjamin Morrison back up there for the first time in a long time. How much does he have to show you to be able to dress on Sunday?
Well, he moved around. Again, he was limited. He did some things. He didn't do everything. He's got to get into practice. He missed quite a few installs as far as the game plan is concerned, so we'll see how he progresses through the week.
I apologize if this was already put out on social media. I was in a doctor's appointment, but the team captains, I know you guys did the vote on Monday.
Right. Same as last year. It's Winfield, Vita, Levante on defense, and it's Baker, Tristan, and Mike on offense.
Luke, you signed an extension that kind of ties up your 2 tackles here together for a while. What can you say about Luke, who started at guard and has now kind of solidified himself over there? And what does it mean to have those anchors on the outside for you for years to come?
The way he works, when he got here, we tried him at guard, but he played tackle in college, so we put him back out where he was comfortable. And he just comes in and puts in. He brings a lunch pail every day. He puts in the work. Him and Tristan work out all off season together and have 2 important positions locked down like that on offense. Says a lot about Luke's work ethic, says a lot about the organization wanting to commit to him, says a lot about the team. So you can't help but be happy for a guy like that. Luke's not an extravagant guy. He puts in hard work every single day, and for him to be rewarded, that's a nice story.
You got quite a few guys from that 2022 draft class that are up for contracts. Zion McCollum's one of them. What does he need to do this season to land one of those big deals that he's probably looking for?
He just needs to play. We're trying to win games. The money comes with it, and that's part of it. I don't get into people's contracts and money or what they need to do to get paid. You play well, you have great seasons, you get paid. You can't pay everybody if you got 10, 15 people up at the same time. But Zion's one of our key players. He's very important to us, and he does a heck of a job day in and day out. He just needs to keep working. He'll be okay.
What are your primary concerns, Todd, about facing the Falcons this week?
None at this time, just making sure we're ready first. We got to make sure we're prepared to play and not worry about so much what they do as opposed to what we do. If we can execute and we can prepare the way we can prepare and they execute the same way, we'll be okay, But they got a lot of talent, and that's going to be every week. We understand that. We feel like we got a lot of talent as well. So, we got to prepare the right way, and we got to go in with the right mindset. We just got to play a solid game and not make mental mistakes.
The fact that they swept you last year, how motivating is that for the players?
I'm motivated without losing street ball. So a team beating me is also motivation, but try to win at everything we do. That's what competitiveness is. We try to win at everything we do and be the best at what we can do. Last year doesn't factor into this year, wins or losses. We're not going to take the wins that we won last year and bring them this year. We're not going to take the losses either.
How much can you learn from those 2 games last year going into this season with a different quarterback for Atlanta?
You don't learn much. You lost. We lost both of them. So we're not going to go recap the season from last year and say this is what we didn't do, this is what we did do. We got a different team. It's a different mindset. It's the start of the season. It's one ball game. It's going to give us a leg up in the division. It's not going to win the Super Bowl, which is what we want to get to. It'll be off. It's great to get off to a good start. That's all it brings to us.
How difficult is to game plan for a quarterback that you don't have a ton of film on? There's some tape out there, 3 games, but there's not like a full season's worth of evaluation to see what he would do in certain situational moments and stuff like that. How difficult is it to prepare for that?
No more different than them preparing for a new OC calling it. It's about the same. You prepare for the scheme as opposed to the quarterback. He has certain things he likes, I'm sure, and they have certain things they like to run for him. We just got to play fundamentally sound football. The first 3 weeks are going to be like that, and everybody's going to have new wrinkles. Nobody's going to be settled in yet. So for us to play fast and play sound, we just got to execute.
Coach, have you developed any kind of plan or approach for managing getting Mike Evans the record, versus letting it get down to like it did last year?
Well, he's probably 1,000 yards away from that right now. So no, we have not developed a plan to get him 1,000 yards at the start of the season. We plan on getting him the ball. He's one of our key playmakers. Obviously, he's ideal for what we do, and he's a key playmaker here. He's a great player, and we know that, but we got to play football and try to win games as well, and he's a big part of that, no doubt about it. But when he gets to 999, we'll make a plan for him.
You said this offseason that
Head coach Todd Bowles talking about the Tampa Bay Bucks ramping up for that season debut coming up Sunday in Atlanta. Well, it's exciting to be able to say the NFL season is just about here, just a couple of hours away from the kickoff of that Eagles-Cowboys game and the start to the season. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Fox 35 News Plus. We've been streaming continuously since 11 a.m. today. We appreciate you joining us on Fox Local. Here's a live look inside Studio A. You can see that tropical satellite. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren going to be tracking the tropics and have your latest forecast coming up, and a whole lot of news as well. So keep it right here on Fox Local. Fox 35 News at 5 begins in about 10 seconds right here on Fox Local. Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Right now on Fox 35 News at 5, imagine knowing your neighborhood was going to flood before a storm even hits.
Yeah, it would make our lives a lot easier here in Florida, and one county is trying to make that a reality.
I'd rather have the knowledge that it's possible that it's coming.
How it would pinpoint the flooding right down to the streets.
Plus, he's used to fighting fires. Now he's fighting for his life.
It's not even something that you can really, prepare for.
The new father now needs help of his own.
And all bets are off. A local sheriff taking the gamble his own way.
People illegal gambling in the county, not taking payoffs like another county did, right?
And he's got a full house.
Great odds that we're going to arrest you.
But first, new details on a former Seminole High School football player who was shot over the weekend. Thanks for joining us. I'm Luann Sorrell.
And I'm John Brown. Ethan Pritchard now plays for Florida State, and he was shot not too far from the campus. That shooting happened near Tallahassee after FSU's big win over Alabama. But his Seminole family here in Central Florida isn't rallying around him right now. Fox 35's Matt Trezza joins us live in Sanford. So, Matt, his former coach spoke to you today.
Yeah, that's right. Seminole High School's head football coach says he's praying for Ethan and his family.
I can't really, it was devastating, just unreal.
Coach Carl Calhoun Jr. was Ethan Pritchard's football coach at Seminole High School. He says he and the team are praying for Pritchard to make it through this ordeal.
Like everyone else, we're hoping that everything comes good. We're hoping that he pushes through.
Pritchard is a freshman football player at Florida State University in Tallahassee. Investigators say he was driving his aunt home after the Seminoles' upset win over Alabama when someone fired at his car, hitting Pritchard. The shooting happened in Havana, about 25 minutes from the state capitol.
We believe in God and believing in his strength and ability, and we just got to continue to pray for him and hope everything transpires how it needs to go.
Calhoun says he's been in contact with Pritchard's family.
Everyone's kind of feeling the same. He's very devastated but hopeful and trusting in God.
Calhoun set up a GoFundMe for Pritchard's family. So far, it's raised more than $85,000.
To help his family, expenses getting back and forth to Tallahassee is very tough, and also the medical expenses and those things that they're dealing with.
If you'd like to support Ethan Pritchard and his family, you can find a link to that GoFundMe that Coach Calhoun has set up on our website, fox35orlando.com. Live in Sanford, Matt Trezza, Fox 35 News.
Matt, thank you. Developing now, a former Orange County deputy accused of killing his wife and trying to cover it up is trying to get out of jail. Anthony Shea was in court for hours today asking for bond to be set. He's charged with first-degree murder. Fox 35's Marie Ettinger is joining us live in Orlando now. So, Marie, the judge did not make a ruling today.
Right, Luann. She says she needs to consider a bit more evidence, and she'll issue a written ruling about that bond either tomorrow or Monday. Now, the state is saying that Shea would pose a danger to the public if he got out, and that he's a flight risk. But the defense is saying he is neither of those things because they say he didn't do it. Detectives first thought Lieutenant Aloyda Shea committed suicide the afternoon of October 14th, 2024. Her husband, Anthony Shea, called 911 after saying he'd walked into her bedroom and found her shot. Four days later, deputies arrested Sergeant Shea, saying he'd killed her and tried to cover his tracks.
This defendant's DNA is the only DNA on that trigger.
Shea had recently resigned as a sergeant from the Orange County Sheriff's Office amidst an investigation for an affair he was carrying out during working hours. His wife wanted a divorce. But the state played a voice recording she'd sent a friend saying specifically she wouldn't commit suicide.
I'm not taking the easy way out. I gotta be here for my girls.
A lot of the state's case hinges on an audio recording they say Shea accidentally started on his wife's phone. The last message, sent from Ellie's cell phone, is at 1:30 p.m. that day. The audio recording starts right after that, but you never hear a gunshot. So the state is alleging Eloida Shea was dead before 1:30, and that Shea is the one who actually sent that message from her phone. The defense says most of the evidence in this case is circumstantial, and most of the investigative conclusions based on supposition.
I'm asking for evidence. Do you have any? No.
To be clear, this wasn't a trial. It's only a discussion over whether Shea should be allowed out on bond while he awaits trial. He's already been in jail for nearly a year.
If he did not cause this death, how horrific a punishment inflicted on the daughters that they're kept away from not only mom because of her passing, but dad because of his unnecessary incarceration.
Right now, the trial for this case is set to start in February of next year. Live in Orlando, Marie Edinger, Fox 35 News.
Marie, thank you. Some new video now of an alleged super speeder busted and cuffed in Flagler County. Deputies say the driver of this BMW was going 90 in a 35 zone. Well, when the deputy asked him why, 50-year-old Justin Bussum allegedly said he did not have to explain himself.
Placing you under arrest for reckless driving and super speeder law, all right? Reckless driving? Yes, sir. You passed 6 vehicles, and you were also going 90 in a 35. That's over 50 miles per hour over the speed limit. Yes, you were. No way. Yes, you were. You have that on camera? Yes, I do.
Bussum was arrested under the new super speeder law for going more than 50 miles per hour over the speed limit. He was later released on a $300 bond.
Well, we are keeping a close eye on the tropics right now and on a system set to make its way across the Atlantic. Right now, still too early to tell if this is going to affect us here in Florida. So let's find out more. Noah Bergman's back with us.
Yeah, Noah, the early models, have to stress early, show that this thing could get close to the coastline.
That's right, Luann, but I want to stress we're effectively tracking a ghost still. And what I mean by that is we don't have a system to track yet. This is still a potential system that has yet to form. It's an area of showers and storms out across the far eastern Atlantic. Over the next several days, it'll continue moving west. It does look like a tropical depression or a storm is going to form in the next few days. Once it reaches tropical storm status, it'll get the name Gabrielle. Now, one thing I want to scream from the rooftops is this a very, very slow moving tropical wave. Sometimes we see these things out here, and if they came at us, they'd be here in a week. This is going to be 2 weeks before it even gets anywhere near us if it did. It's a very, very slow moving system. Big area of high pressure out across the Atlantic. That's the red development zone area, 90% chance of development. I've drawn on some lines for the approximate timing. This line here is next Wednesday. Next Friday as we go towards Puerto Rico, and then if this thing was hypothetically a hurricane or something else weaker, the Bahamas to maybe near South Florida by Monday, September 15th. So this is way out in time that this would even come close to threatening us in the grand scheme of things. I'll talk to you much more about this and your weekend weather in just a few minutes.
All right, Noah, thank you. Wouldn't it be nice to know when your street will flood? Well, real-time flood alerts could be coming to Brevard County.
Yeah, the county is updating an outdated flood warning system. And Fox 35's Esther Bauer explains how this is going to give people more time to get ready before the water moves in.
Flooding is a big issue right here in Brevard because we have a triple threat. I'm talking about the St. Johns, the ocean, and the Indian River Lagoon. Engineers are hopeful earlier storm warnings can help residents better prepare. Stalled cars in Palm Bay and apartments underwater in Mims.
You got a lot of flooding.
No one can stop the storms, but Brevard County stormwater engineers want to do a better job precisely pinpointing where they'll dump the most water.
Letting them know what's coming and what to expect is critical.
Bach McClure says right now the county relies on outdated FEMA flood maps, but soon they'll be able to see every storm's path in real time.
Take the NOAA forecasts for hurricanes and tropical storms, other things that are coming in, and get take that forecast and model what's going to happen.
With the upgrade, they can run new models every few hours as a storm gets closer to the coast and update residents with emergency alerts.
The forecast has changed. Now it looks like this road is going to go a foot underwater.
This week, the county applied for a $900,000 Resilient Florida grant to help fund the new system.
Even if we couldn't keep the road from going under, knowing that they can prepare, they can move their cars out of harm's way.
Because I'd rather have the knowledge that it's possible that it's coming than wake up and step into a swamp in my yard, in my house.
Long-term, engineers want to use the data they'll collect to know where they should update infrastructure to prevent flooding in the first place. And engineers are already working on these system upgrades, and they should know by the end of the year if the state will also help out with the grant. Reporting in Brevard County, Esther Bauer, Fox 35 News.
Thanks, Esther. A Fox 35 News update right now. Alligator Alcatraz will not shut down after all. A federal appeals court just paused a judge's order to halt operations last month. That previous ruling pointed to environmental issues as to why that facility needed to shut down. But the judge's ruling today overturned that decision, meaning it can remain open and construction can continue.